Glasgow are top of the table. They're top of the URC, playing very well. I think there's still a lot more to come from Glasgow. They were playing. There was a lot of rugby played between the 22 to 22. Glasgow going through the phases, and I was sitting in the commentary position with John Barkley, and we were like, Glasgow are so deep. Like Ulster are defending this with ease. Like they're just coming up, closing the space, coming up and catching Glasgow behind the gain line. But in fairness to Glasgow, they stuck at it and kept it going and kept it going the whole way through. And then bang, that opportunity came, and they took it with both hands. They were very, very clinical. That Johnny Matthews try where he was on the touchline, that's what Glasgow's all about. Hit it up, then a hit to Pilatu, out the back to Pilatu. Matty Ray hits in into Pilatu. And before you know it, John Cooney's backpedaling in defence. And then Jacob Stockdale backpedals. And when you're backpedaling and your numbers down, that's never a good sign. And Johnny Matthews showed a bit of gas with Tom Stewart corner flagging to try and get there, and he couldn't get there. And that's the blueprint of Glasgow Warriors and what how they can play rugby. They also showed a bit of grunt as well, didn't they? A number of scrum penalties in the first half. They went to their maul. It was a pretty important minute or two just before the halftime whistle when they get over and made the score 14 all. If Ulster had repelled them then, could have been in for a slightly different third quarter in the match. But yeah, I think Ulster, they didn't fold. I know Big Tony McWhorter well when he's talking about maybe a soft underbelly, but this is a lot of these young guys that are being given opportunities. Harry Sheridan, James McNabney winning his first cap, Zach Solomon winning his first cap. Um, Ian Henderson has hardly had any rugby under his belt. The front row got dominated until they brought on World Cup winners and Irish internationals and Marty Moore. So Billy Burns had to go off early, and Nathan Doak wasn't even supposed to be in the bench. Then all of a sudden he's playing 70 minutes of the match. So yeah, for me, I thought it was always going to be a purple patch from Glasgow, but I didn't expect it to last for 60 minutes of the game. And unfortunately, Ulster just ran out of a bit of steam and didn't have enough on the bench to come on and try and get themselves back into it. So it's more of a hats off to Glasgow, Donny, than get stuck into Ulster. The first score of the game was crucial, wasn't it? And what a score it was! What a try! Unbelievable. That could be up there for try of the season come May June time. Simon Zebo, I know we've chatted about him a good bit, Donny, probably over the last year, of when are we going to see the best Simon Zebo. He's in and out. Is Graham Roundtree fancy him or not? Well, he showed at the weekend that he's definitely still got the skills, the pace, the composure to mix it in the big games. He'll be disappointed with the Jordan Larmour try that they were corner flagging so hard that Jordan Larmour's got ridiculous feet, and that he probably should have made a bit of a better effort to stop him getting in there. But apart from that, his game was superb all around, and that try got them on their way. Like Caelan Doris made 20 tackles in the game. Josh van der Fleer 14, man of the match. Jack Conan 11. Like they were under pressure. Munster had 60% possession in the second half, and like everybody thought that this was going to be a 30 or 40 point win for Leinster, just because of the Irish internationals that they have. I know they have a couple of guys still to bring back in, but they've shown over the last 5 or 6 weeks that they've it's been a demolition job on most of the teams that they've played. And yeah, it was a high quality game. Munster will be really, I think, happy with their improvements that they've made in their game over the last couple of weeks, because even the Ulster game, we chatted about it. They didn't do an awful lot in the match, still walked away with a point out of it. I think the first game against Sharks at home was the only game that they sort of showed their true colours. So starting to get back to the good old Munster of last season, and it's perfect timing leading into a big game this weekend and then into European Cup. I do give them a chance. The sports ground is a ridiculously tough place to go. It's probably going to be Baltic, a crisp, hopefully dry evening down in Galway. Both teams will be relishing the opportunity of laying down a marker before these Champions Cup matches. And it's what you usually see in the league is like it's almost like a dry run, isn't it? The week before the Champions Cup, it's where you put in your best team, get a bit of cohesion, before you get that week's training, then you get the match, then you get another week's training, and then you're hopefully firing on all cylinders come the first round of the Champions Cup. So that's the way we've seen it in the past. Hopefully Mac Hansen's back. We're not sure about Bundy, what the story is with him. Hopefully we'll see him back. But Finlay Bealham got good game time under his belt out in South Africa. They obviously beat the Sharks and then conceded 50 points against the Bulls, but 35 degrees in Pretoria and backs against the wall for large parts. You can't really blame them. They'll be happy enough to come away from their tour in South Africa with 4 points. So yeah, I think all the pressure's on Leinster. It really is. Connacht have shown that they hang in games even when they're under the pump. That they don't go away. You just look at the Edinburgh game. You look at some of the earlier fixtures. They're a team that's definitely evolving. They've added to their squad as well. The big second row in there has been really good. They've added to their coaching staff. Scott Fardy's in there, former Leinster man, so maybe he has a wee bit of in-depth detail. Jacques Nienaber is in and alive and cooking in the Leinster setup, and yeah, we might see a bit of a more dangerous animal when it comes to their defensive setup against Connacht away at the sports ground at the weekend. But yeah, for me, this should be the game of the round, one that I'm thoroughly looking forward to. I think every good storyline needs a good villain, doesn't it? And I think over the last, well, goodness knows how many seasons, Johnny Sexton's maybe been that guy for Ireland, and Owen Farrell's definitely been that guy for England, and maybe not so much Dupont. Dupont's more like the superhero, and when he plays for France, and if he's missing as well, it's definitely going to take a little bit away from the tournament. I can completely when the news broke about Owen Farrell looking to take a bit of a break away from international rugby, it was absolutely no surprise to me whatsoever. The pressure that guy has been put under. Um, we heard his dad, Andy Farrell, backing him up and fighting his corner. Only a number of months ago, through the high tackle situations and some of the online abuse that he was getting was out of control, and to be completely honest, utterly unacceptable. So, you just wonder how that has affected him, his family. They get out of the car going to school, and the first thing, some parents send them is like, "Oh, well, how's Owen? What about that high tackle at the weekend?" And sometimes you just need a break. And it's not just away from, the rugby, it could be away from the setup, just away from the media. Get the head shot away from the media, not have to answer constant questions. And Steve Borthwick has come out and been very supportive of Owen Farrell. And I think all his teammates and everybody involved in Ulster can understand why somebody of as high a profile as Owen Farrell is taking a step back. And lastly, Donny, it wouldn't surprise me if we see more players doing this in the future to protect themselves for the latter part of their career, so to speak.